History often changes loudly, but sometimes it changes in silence. In the year 732, two worlds moved toward each other, not knowing that one day would decide centuries. From the south came an army that had never truly been stopped. They crossed deserts, they crossed seas, they crossed the Pyrenees. Every city they met fell. Europe was not ready. It was divided, it was fragile, and it was late. From the north came no empire, no great civilization, no legendary army, only men who refused to move. They did not charge, they did not shout, they did not chase glory. They waited. What followed was not a siege, not a campaign, not a conquest. It was a collision. If this line broke, Europe would open. If it held, history would turn. This is the story of the battle historians still argue about. The battle some call a footnote, and others call the moment Europe survived. Tours, 732. One day decided Europe. History does not announce itself. It does not warn cities before it arrives. It does not explain what it is about to take. It simply moves. By the early 8th century, the world south of the Mediterranean was already in motion. From Arabia, a new force had risen, not slowly, not cautiously, but with the speed of belief and the discipline of purpose. In less than a century, banners once unknown beyond the desert now flew over Damascus, Jerusalem, Cairo, Carthage, and the distant shores of the Atlantic. Empires that had ruled for centuries collapsed in decades. The Persians were gone. The Eastern Romans were broken and bleeding. North Africa, once Roman and then Byzantine, now answered to governors from the east. This expansion was not chaos. It was organized, it was deliberate, and it was relentless. To the men who rode westward, the world did not feel conquered, it felt unfinished. In Al-Andalus, the former Visigothic kingdom of Iberia, Umayyad authority had settled quickly.
Fresh dates, just in, best quality. They look good. How much for these?
Cities submitted, roads reopened, trade resumed. The conquest had been swift enough that memory itself barely had time to resist. But conquest breeds momentum. Governors reported success, commanders reported opportunity. Raids across the Pyrenees were no longer distant dreams. They were practical extensions of what had already been done elsewhere. The lands beyond the mountains were rich, fractured, and poorly defended. Gaul was not an empire. It was a patchwork. Dukes ruled valleys, counts ruled towns, kings ruled in name, not in fact. To the south, this did not look like resistance. It looked like invitation. So the columns moved, cavalry hardened by desert heat, and mountain passes crossed into unfamiliar forests and colder air. They did not move blindly. They followed roads once built by Rome, roads that still knew how to lead an army forward. Cities fell, churches were looted, wealth flowed south. Each raid went farther than the last, and with every successful return, the question grew louder. How far does this road go? Beyond the Pyrenees, Europe slept uneasily. This was not the Europe of later centuries. There were no nations, no banners that spoke for millions. What remained of Roman order existed only in stone and memory.
Aye! Press forward!
The Western Empire had died long ago, and nothing strong had replaced it.
Abderman marches on Tours! Patience, we need allies, not allies, while they burn our lands? I agree, we march now! We must hold the line here! No, we attack at dawn!
Kings argued with nobles. Nobles argued with bishops. Armies were raised slowly, disbanded quickly, and loyal only as long as reward followed. Most rulers believed danger came from neighbors, not from beyond the horizon. Raids from the south were treated as distant problems, tragedies for other men, fires burning far away. until they weren't. As news spread northward, of churches sacked, towns emptied, and fields burned, the realization came too late. The frontier had moved. The war was no longer someone else's. In this fractured world stood a man who was not a king. Charles, later called Martel the Hammer, held no crown. His authority came not from ceremony but from force, patience, and survival. He had spent years fighting other Franks, crushing rebellions, breaking rival lords, and turning a divided people into something resembling a single will. He understood Europe's weakness because he lived inside it. Charles did not rule a peaceful land. He ruled a land that only obeyed strength. When reports of southern armies reached him, he did not answer immediately. He did not charge south. He did not seek glory. He waited, because Charles knew something others did not. Cavalry could raid. Cavalry could terrorize. But cavalry could be stopped if the ground, the season, and the discipline were right. The armies moving north were built for motion, speed, shock, pursuit. They struck fast, withdrew faster, and lived off what they took. Their strength was not in holding ground, but in breaking it. Charles' strength was the opposite.
Close ranks, shields together, no gaps! Aye! Square up, lock shields, spears forward!
Infantry, heavy, slow, unmoving. Men who did not chase. Men who did not break formation. Men who could stand in silence while death rode toward them. This was not ideology. It was necessity. Charles did not have the luxury of speed. He did not have the horses, the wealth, or the reach of the southern forces. What he had was time, and the understanding that time could be shaped. Somewhere between Bordeaux and the Loire, between memory and fate, lay rolling ground cut by forests and cold winds. Not a city, not a fortress, just land. Land that would decide how armies could move. Land that would decide who could stand and who must charge. As autumn approached, the air cooled, supplies thinned, horses tired. The raiders from the south had gone farther than ever before, and now for the first time they did not immediately turn back. They lingered. They believed the north would collapse as others had. They believed no one would dare stand in their path. Neither side yet understood what was forming. No declaration had been made, no challenge issued, no battle named. But history was already leaning forward. Two worlds shaped by different climates, different wars. Different ideas of power were drawing closer with every step. Not because they hated each other, not because they sought destiny, but because movement once begun demands an answer. And soon, somewhere in the forests of Gaul, that answer would be given not in speeches or treaties, but in silence.